Good afternoon and welcome to today's joint roundtable of the Subcommittee on Healthcare and Financial Services and the Subcommittee on Economic Growth, Energy Policy, and Regulatory Affairs. Today we're discussing the Working Families Tax Cut, or H.R. 1, and the effect it has on work. I apologize. We hope to have a little bit of attendance, but we have some of our Democrat colleagues are not going to be here for the working committee. This legislation was built around a straightforward premise that working Americans should be able to keep more of what they earn and that economic policy should reward work, investment, production, and growth here at home. The less you tax something, the more you get of it, right? So if we cut a little bit of the taxes on work, you get more work. For years, families across the country have dealt with rising costs that outpace their paychecks. Whether for housing, food, utilities, childcare, or transportation, many Americans have felt increasing pressure on their household finances even when the broader economy has appeared strong on paper. At the same time, businesses have faced growing concerns about the stagnating investment, weakened domestic production capacity, and increasing dependence on overseas supply chains. H.R. 1 responded to these concerns through a combination of tax relief for workers and incentives aimed at expanding economic activity in the United States. H.R. 1 is already producing measurable results. The law has increased take-home pay for many households, with American families and workers claiming $82 billion in individual relief through the various tax provisions included in the bill. More than 53 million Americans utilized at least one of the year's new tax provisions during this filing year alone. The legislation also expanded incentives tied to manufacturing, business investment, equipment purchases, and domestic production with the goal of strengthening long-term economic growth and job creation. The Tax Foundation has projected that the law could increase long-term GDP support or preserve more than 7 million jobs nationwide. Those projections are substantial, and today's conversation is an opportunity to examine them carefully. We are here to discuss how families are experiencing these changes in their daily lives, how employers and small businesses are responding to the incentives created by the legislation, and whether these policies are strengthening economic opportunity and financial stability. We also are here to discuss broader questions surrounding the implementation, labor markets, investment behavior, and the long-term trajectory of the American economy. Congress has a responsibility not only to pass legislation, but also to evaluate its effectiveness after enactment. That oversight is especially important with the legislation of this scale and significance. The American people deserve a clear understanding of how these policies are affecting wages, employment, investment, and the overall cost of living. Now that our first filing season has passed, it's time to review the real impacts of H.R. 1 on the American family. By the way, on my way over here today, I looked at a TV screen. We hit another all-time high in the Dow Industrial. I realize that's investment income, not working income, but it's a sign that even with this war going on, these tax cuts are, wow, they're driving the economy. With that, we'll turn to my colleague, Congressman Burleson, for his opening remarks. And I guess that's going to be it, because we don't see any ranking members here, which is a shame because they could learn something.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for hosting this meeting. And thank you for joining us today. We're here to discuss the real-world implications of this bill, the Working Families Tax Cuts Act, and what it actually means for Americans that we represent. Before we discuss policy, it's important that we discuss reality. Many Americans are still struggling. Families continue to feel the effects of years of inflation, rising housing, and health insurance costs, and an economy that has become increasingly difficult to afford. Too many hardworking Americans still feel that they're falling behind. And that frustration is something that we should not ignore. That frustration is real. We are coming out of a drunken phase of federal spending. And unfortunately, you don't end the hangover immediately. It's going to take time. For years, Washington's answer to every problem seemed to be more and more spending, and more borrowing, and more government. Meanwhile, the national debt continued to grow. Inflation crunched budgets, and taxpayers were left wondering when anyone in Washington, D.C. would start exercising the same level of discipline that they have to do with their own American household. And that's why this bill, the Working Families Tax Cut, actually matters. President Trump made a promise to extend the tax relief that helped fuel economic growth and raise wages for American workers. And he delivered. Working alongside a Republican Congress, the president signed into law one of the most significant conservative policy victories in decades. We often hear about what government spends, but today we're here to talk about what Americans get to keep. The law permanently extends the 2017 tax cuts, preventing what would have been otherwise a 22% increase in people's in their income taxes. It would have been the largest increase in American history on families. The Internal Revenue Service instead reported this year in March an 18.3% increase from last year's total tax returns. That is $26.5 billion, which went back into the pockets of the American people as they strive to emerge from an affordability pressures that were launched by this former Biden administration. The law rewards work that we passed. It provides meaningful tax relief to tipped workers, overtime workers, and many seniors, allowing Americans who work hard, pick up extra shifts, or have spent a lifetime paying into the system to keep more of their own money. Workers can deduct up to $25,000 in tip income and up to $12,500 in overtime pay from their federal taxes. The law also strengthens the child tax credit for roughly 40 million families, expands educational opportunities for parents, and creates new ways for families to save and invest in their child's future. For more than 4 million children are already enrolled in these new savings accounts. The law also strengthens incentives for investment, research, and domestic manufacturing, which we will hear about today. It permanently restores immediate expensing for research and development and provides greater certainty for businesses looking to invest, hire, and build right here in the United States. Manufacturers warned that a failure to act could jeopardize hundreds of billions of dollars in economic output, and millions of Americans might lose their jobs. But instead, this law is projected to support approximately $284 billion in manufacturing growth, while helping secure millions of jobs across the country. But just as importantly, this law begins addressing a problem that Washington has ignored for too long: spending. For decades, Congress has spent money like it doesn't have, while taxpayers have been forced to absorb the consequences. But the Working Families Tax Cut Act begins to change that trajectory. The law achieves roughly $1.4 trillion in mandatory spending reductions over the next decade, and includes reforms designed to encourage work, increase accountability, and begin addressing programs that have become vulnerable to waste, fraud, and abuse. Is that enough to solve the problem that we're facing? No. We have more work to do, but it is a start. It's a tremendous start. The American people understand something, and that Washington often forgets, which is that prosperity is created not by government, but by people, by workers, by families, by entrepreneurs and businesses, not by us. No single piece of legislation can solve every challenge facing this country, but the Working Families Tax Cut Act represents a significant step toward lower taxes, greater economic freedom, stronger growth, and a more responsible federal government. Today, we get to hear from some of the best minds in the industry. We get to hear directly from witnesses about how these policies are affecting workers, how they actually affect families and employers across the country, not just the political rhetoric, and whether we ultimately delivered on the promises that we had made to the American people. And I am greatly looking forward to this discussion. With that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. Now we're going to introduce our witnesses. The first thing I would like to point out, people frequently ask me, do the parties ever get along? And I enjoy working with my Democrat colleagues, and something that doesn't happen often, but it happens today for those other people in the audience. You'll notice to the right of me, we don't have any people. The Democrats, for whatever motivation, have decided not to show up today. And I like those guys. Congressman Krishnamurthy from Illinois, Congressman Frost from Florida, Congressman Bell from Missouri. I really look forward to working with them. But I'm sorry for the I don't know if you're a tour group or what you are back there, but whoever's back here, welcome to our hearing. And like I said, I wish we had our Democrats listening today. Okay, I'm pleased to introduce today's roundtable participants. First, we have Mr. Garrett Watson, the Director of Policy Analysis at the American Tax Foundation. Next, we have Charles Crane, Managing Vice President of Policy for the National Association of Manufacturers. We have Dr. Jack Shane. Mr. Shane is the President and CEO of Juergens, Inc., a family-owned manufacturing company. He came here all the way from Cleveland today. Lastly, we have Mr. Matthew Dickerson. Mr. Dickerson serves as president at Baseline Policy. I'm going to turn it over to my guests for any opening remarks. Well, there is no formal time limit. I ask that you try to keep your remarks to around 5 minutes. Mr. Watson?
Chairman Grothman, Chairman Burleson, members of the committee, thank you for the invitation to participate in today's roundtable about the 2025 tax law. My name is Garrett Watson. I'm Director of Policy Analysis at the Tax Foundation, and we work on policy analysis, research, and education at the federal, state, and global levels. As we begin this discussion on the 2025 tax law, I think it is useful to start with what may ultimately be one of its most significant and maybe underappreciated contributions for American taxpayers, which is providing greater permanence and certainty in our tax code. Businesses and households make better long-term decisions when they have certainty in the tax code, and they were facing great uncertainty due to the looming expiration of the 2017 tax cuts at the end of 2025. And the 2025 tax law made those provisions permanent, moving them from that temporary status, enhancing that certainty and stability. And that certainty is valuable because many of these permanent provisions are also very pro-growth, expanding the long-run trajectory of the American economy. For example, in our analysis at the Tax Foundation, the combination of permanent full expensing for machinery, equipment, and domestic research and development, we project will increase long-term GDP by about 0.7%, which represents over $140 billion of additional American output every year. And that comes with a relatively low fiscal cost because we were moving the timing of deductions that American taxpayers otherwise would have taken closer to the present than over the long run. The law also prevented what would have been a broad-based tax increase on, by our estimates, over 62% of taxpayers across the income spectrum in 2026. In addition to that, a majority of tax filers received tax relief in 2025 thanks to the new provisions related to the expanded standard deduction, the larger child tax credit, and the new deductions for tips, overtime, seniors, and deductions for auto loan interest, and state and local tax deductions. And those changes have already had a measurable impact in this year's tax season. We estimate at Tax Foundation that the law provided approximately $129 billion in tax cuts for 2025. And as of early May, average refunds were up over $335 compared to the prior filing season. It's important to point out, though, that that represents about $50 billion in tax relief, but another $50 billion plus in additional tax relief was provided through reduced tax liability during tax season and in 2025 through changes in withholding. The number of taxpayers who received a refund also increased by about 6% from 94 million taxpayers last year to 99 million taxpayers this year. And looking ahead to 2026, Tax Foundation estimates that taxpayers on average will see a $2,300 increase in their after-tax income relative to the prior law that saw the 2017 tax cuts expire. Of course, even as we recognize the law's many accomplishments, there remain many opportunities for improvement. Most notably, in the short run, of course, we are following very closely the Treasury Department's issuance of regulation and guidance to taxpayers for the new items in the law, particularly the new deductions for overtime, for seniors, for tips, and for auto loan interest. And it'll be important to balance the goals of simplicity, compliance, effective enforcement consistent with the underlying law to make sure that taxpayers can maximize the benefit of those new deductions and keep the tax code simple. Looking ahead legislatively, there's also, of course, opportunity to build on the law's strong pro-growth foundations, most notably expanding and making permanent the new full expensing for manufacturing structures that expires at the end of the decade would further strengthen long-term economic growth. And additional efforts, of course, to broaden the tax base and simplify the code could help generate needed revenue while preserving the 2025 tax law's most economically beneficial features. So I hope in our conversation today we can explore both sides of that ledger, what the law has accomplished, and where we can build from there and build on that in the years ahead. Thank you, and I look forward to taking your questions.
Thank you much. On to Mr. Crane.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Charles Crane, and I'm the Managing Vice President of Policy at the National Association of Manufacturers. Appreciate the opportunity to testify before you all today on the investment of a generation in America's manufacturers, H.R. 1, last year's historic tax law. Just a year ago, manufacturers were facing the prospect of devastating tax increases across the industry. Pro-growth and pro-investment incentives had already expired, and taxes were scheduled to go up even more on essentially everyone at the end of 2025, from multinational corporations to small family-owned businesses to manufacturing workers and their families. The risks associated with these tax hikes were real. 6 million American jobs were on the line, along with more than $500 billion in employee wages and over $1 trillion in U.S. GDP. Thankfully, Congress and the administration, with manufacturers by your side, took action. H.R. 1 was signed into law by President Trump on July 4th, America's 249th birthday. Now, as we approach the 250th anniversary of America, just a month from today, manufacturers are using the tax law to invest more, to innovate more, to hire more, and grow right here in the United States. That's because H.R. 1 sets a pro-competitive and permanent baseline for America's tax code. It preserves the 21% corporate tax rate, and it makes permanent both lower rates for pass-through businesses and the pass-through deduction. H.R. 1 gives multinational companies more reason to invest in America, and it protects all American family businesses from the estate tax. It also increases take-home pay for manufacturing workers who utilize overtime pay. And most importantly, H.R. 1 includes permanent and pro-growth incentives that were designed specifically to stimulate manufacturing investment. Thanks to H.R. 1, manufacturers can immediately deduct their R&D expenses, their capital equipment purchases, the interest on any debt finance projects, the cost of new and expanded manufacturing facilities. These immediate expensing provisions are the heart of H.R. 1 because they incentivize and support the exact job-creating investments that drive the manufacturing economy in America. At the NAM, we hear about the real-world impact of these provisions every single day. A family-owned business in North Carolina was able to purchase multiple pieces of capital equipment that they'd been holding back on and hire 5 new people as a result. A small C Corp in Iowa, whose job gains since 2017 were on the line if the corporate tax rate had gone up. A helicopter company doing more R&D to detect forest fires. A tool company that increased its workforce by more than 10% because it could afford new debt-financed investments. A family business owner who now has the certainty and the confidence she needs to pass her business on to her sons. My fellow witness who is using the new factories deduction to expand his facilities outside of Chicago. That's just a sampling of the thousands of manufacturers across the country who now have the certainty that they need to invest for the future thanks to H.R. 1. 6 million American jobs were on the line. And instead, the 13 million people who make things in America are growing our nation's lead as a manufacturing superpower on the world stage. Alexander Hamilton said that the wealth, the independence, the very security of our nation are materially connected with the prosperity of manufacturers. Today, that manufacturing prosperity depends on tax policy that empowers our industry to invest, to innovate, and to grow. H.R. 1 is helping manufacturers deliver on Hamilton's promise, turning our boundless continent into a home for an industry that unlocks the ingenuity of the American people, as it always has, from the blacksmiths of the Revolution to the arsenal of democracy and more. And on America's 250th anniversary, just a month from today, that's something worth celebrating. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Schroen?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I should say all the way from Cleveland, Ohio.
It's a long way, but I made it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My name is Jack Schron, and I'm president and CEO of Juergens Incorporated. It's a family business that we have proudly owned and operated, and I'm the third generation, with fourth generation right behind me, ready to move it to the next level. We were founded in 1942 in Cleveland, Ohio, by my father and grandfather. Juergens was building parts and equipment for the aerospace and defense parts to defend ourselves in the Second World War. Today, we have 450 employees that supply manufacturers around the world and across industries to include machining, metalworking, aerospace, and defense. We manufacture items such as specialty fasteners and quick-release pins for aerospace. I'm grateful for the opportunity to speak today on the working families tax cuts and the enormously positive impact it's had on our business. The law has made our research investments, our equipment purchases, our facilities expansions, and our upgrades through the financing more affordable by the tax law that you folks passed and the growth that it has allowed us to complete. Our employees are working more thanks to the no tax and overtime. The no tax and overtime is benefiting our employees, and it's also incredibly benefiting Juergens itself. It's no secret that in manufacturing, there's a skilled labor's workforce in our country. Hiring workers at this time, it's growing rapidly and more difficult every day. The no tax and overtime means employees are eager to work the more hours. It means Juergens has a readily trained workforce ready to go and jump right on our CNC machines because they just finished working on the prior shift, go right into overtime. Simply put, the no tax and overtime helps the individuals make more money and helps our company to expand using our existing skilled workforce. As a result, 83% of our hourly skilled workforce is volunteering to work overtime. As an example, one of our teammates, Richie Gavlin, he volunteers to work overtime because of this bill on Saturday. I know it's hard to believe. Saturday, he actually volunteers to work because he loves what it's doing. It also allows him to set this goal, which is to buy a new fishing boat so he can go out with his team and go out fishing on the weekends. It's a win, win, win. Our teammates win, like Richie. Our company wins because we have a skilled workforce, and the economy wins because we're putting all this more energy into our manufacturing. Immediate expensing is also game-changing. We have needed to expand our capacity, both in equipment and our facilities. This expansion, because of this tax law, has meant a building expansion, ordering new equipment, and hiring new workforce. The Working Families Tax Cut makes these investments far more affordable than we recently could do. We just opened an expansion in our Chicago operation. The bill was signed, and we decided we're going to move immediately into expansion number 2. That meant that we could build the next expansion, immediately be able to write it off and deduct that instead of taking years in 1 year. This has been instrumental in our growth in our Chicago operation. Another huge working family tax cut benefit means that we are a family business. We'd like to keep it as a family business so we can grow into that 4th generation. It means that just because it's a family business doesn't mean our family, it means the Juergens family. And that's all the folks who've been with us for these 84 years. One of our young ladies has been with us 54 years, Dorothy Kaczarski. And so when we say family, that's what a family business really is in the United States. Instead of having to sell our business to private equity or some other buyer in another area of estate planning, this allows us to have permanent estate planning giving our families and the family businesses in this country a logical succession plan. Put simply, the working family tax cut has supported the growth in every way in our company. It means we can use this tax bill to invest in our future. We can hire more people. It means we can increase our capacity to make more product to ship and compete with our European and our Chinese competitors. And lastly, the permanency of these provisions gives us a certainty that we can think big for the next generation, to hire new teammates, long-term investments. Juergens is a case study in what this bill really means to manufacturers. I'm happy to answer your questions going forward, and I will close with simply saying thank you. Thank you for passing this bill.
Thank you very much for the kind words. We'll wrap it up with Mr. Dickerson.
Chairman Grothman, Chairman Burleson, thank you so much for holding this important roundtable. My name is Matthew Dickerson. I'm president of Baseline Policy, a firm that provides research and analysis of federal fiscal policy. President Trump and Congress acted last year to prevent the largest tax increase in American history, strengthen border security, crack down on waste, fraud, and abuse, unleash reliable American energy, and reduce the cost of living. If you had not passed the working families tax cuts, taxpayers would have been on the hook for more than $4 trillion in higher taxes over the next decade. And taxpayers are already reaping the benefits of the new tax law. The IRS has already issued $50 billion more in refunds this year compared to the same period last year. The average refund was $3,276, which is 11.5% higher than last year. 69% of tax filers have received a refund, which is 3.6 percentage points higher than in 2025. And importantly, this tax relief was broad-based, with 96% of those receiving a tax cut earning less than $200,000, and 70% earned less than $100,000. The working families tax cuts included important provisions focused on hourly workers and families with children. One of those provisions was the Trump Accounts program, which provides a savings vehicle for children and a $1,000 contribution for newborns born between 2025 and 2028. More than 5.5 million Trump accounts have already been opened. And my wife and I are opening a Trump account for our 3-month-old daughter, and I really hope that it provides her a good growing nest egg for years to come. The working families tax cuts also included vital policies that will spur American investment and innovation. The law restored the ability of businesses to immediately deduct the full cost of capital investments, such as factory equipment, R&D, and it also allows for expensing for construction of new manufacturing structures, and we just heard some of the great success of that, and that's going to be one of the most important provisions of the new law. The bill also rolled back about $500 billion in wasteful green energy tax subsidies for electric vehicles, wind, solar, and other unreliable energy sources, ending these special interest giveaways that were originally provided by President Joe Biden's Inflation Reduction Act was a really important policy priority that will reduce the deficit and promote energy affordability. Compared to the tax hikes that would have come into effect this year, the working families tax cuts reduced the cost of living. The tax relief and pro-growth policies means that households around the country have more money in their pockets right now today. So thank you very much for your oversight of this really important issue, and I look forward to your questions and our conversation. Thank you.
Okay, now what I'm going to do is, because I know some of us have other hearings, so legislators sometimes jump in and out, I'm going to lead off with Congressman Clay Higgins from Louisiana.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate you convening this roundtable. And we do have deliberations in the House Armed Services Committee, so I appreciate you recognizing me first. The Working Families Tax Cuts and Jobs Act was so significant, and it was. Let me tell you, it was a hell of a struggle to get it done through the House. Like the deliberations and negotiations were intense, and everybody had to move. Every faction within the House of Representatives had to move. The Senate needed to shift. And some of us didn't get the full conservative bill that we had hoped that we would. And for others, the bill was too conservative. But ultimately, it delivered to American families. In Louisiana, our economy relies heavily on manufacturing, energy production, shipbuilding, chemical processing, heavy industry that provides a lot of jobs to working individuals, and many of them are married. So when you start talking about like a new relief for overtime, $25,000, a new deduction for a married couple. This is significant. And a fella can schedule working overtime, as the gentleman stated, and say, man, I don't have to pay income tax on this. Like I did 25 grand is a beautiful threshold to achieve during the course of a year. So it has had tremendous impact. It also, the bill allowed the generation of additional offshore energy production revenues, bringing about $50 million annually to Louisiana for coastal restoration and flood mitigation, hurricane protection efforts. And the bill kept in place pro-growth, domestic manufacturing, tax codes that support industry, and again, provide scores of thousands of good-paying jobs with good benefits. This is just in Louisiana. So we knew if we could wire this thing together and get it done through reconciliation, that it would have a tremendous positive impact on the entire country. And we're seeing that now. We're just beginning to reap the benefits of that. But there's a risk. Mr. Watson and Mr. Crane, I'd like you to address the scheduled sunset of a lot of the provisions in this bill. Like, we want them to be permanent. And one of the adjustments we had to make for our expectations and what we wished from a conservative perspective was that we settled for a sunset as far out as we can push it. But would you please address what would happen if no tax on overtime and manufacturing expense and for equipment were to expire in January 2029? Mr. Watson and Mr. Crane.
Yeah, I think we're set up in 2029 to see a smaller version of what we were dealing with in 2025, which is a looming tax cliff, particularly for taxpayers who are very much benefiting from these new deductions. Some folks are seeing thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars in deductions that will go away if they were to expire. And there's uncertainty there, right, about what will happen, what action Congress will take to deal with that. The other thing I would mention is, of course, in our modeling and other projections, the growth impacts of a lot of these new provisions are muted in the long run precisely because they're temporary. So by making them permanent, you not only create that certainty for taxpayers, but you also, by increasing incentives for investment and work, you're increasing the growth path, which I think builds on what the law was doing for the permanent aspects that were passed last year.
So the gentleman agrees that making these provisions permanent, it would be easily foreseen as a tremendous benefit to the American people. Yep. Mr. Crane?
I would agree with that. I mean, we see the benefits of permanence in the sections of the bill that are permanent, right? Immediate expensing for R&D expenses, for capital equipment purchases. Manufacturers need that long-term certainty. Manufacturing is capital-intensive and long-term. And so the fact that you gave the industry certainty in the form of those permanent provisions, we should just apply that logic to the other ones that you're describing. The deduction for manufacturing production facilities is the best example. If that expires, we go back to a 39-year amortization schedule. Mr. Strong can speak to this. I would much rather write off my facility in year one than spread out that cost over 39 years. That's the pro-growth impact that we want tax policy to have. You've done it for capital equipment and for R&D. Extending that and making permanent for facilities is definitely the next step in the right direction.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for clarifying that, and we certainly concur. We should make this stuff permanent, Mr. Chairman. I yield.
Thank you. Now I'll call upon myself. First of all, I'd like to ask a general question of all the witnesses. We'll just go your right to left. Which provision of H.R. 1 has the most significant impact on you, your families, or your members, or your industry?
Yeah, for us, I think the permanence for expensing for machinery, equipment, and for R&D is really important. We find that it's the single most pro-growth aspect of the tax
Just a second,
code.
I'm sorry to cut you off.
Go ahead.
I don't want. I'm going to call on Congressman Perry over there from Pennsylvania.
Proceed with your question and then turn to them.
Okay. Okay, we're informal here. Okay, I'll repeat that question for you for. Which provision of H.R. 1 has the most significant impact on you, your families, or your members, or your industry?
Yeah, in our view at Tax Foundation, it would be the permanency for full expensing for capital investment, for machinery, equipment, and R&D. It's going to put the U.S. in a really competitive pro-growth spot, and that permanency was really important.
I would agree with that. The expensing provisions are specifically designed to drive manufacturing investments. You have expensing for R&D, for capital equipment, and for production facilities. I mean, that's what you're going to see drive growth and job creation. But since Mr. Watson already gave that answer, I'm going to add on top of it that 96% of manufacturers are organized as pass-throughs. So preventing the individual rates from going up, which is what pass-throughs pay at, and preserving the 20% pass-through deduction, we're sort of 1A and 1B with the expensing provisions that we talked about a minute ago in terms of the pro-manufacturing impact of the bill.
Okay. Mr. Schoen?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman, but that's kind of like asking me which of my 3 children do I like the best. And as a business owner, I can tell you the no tax and overtime is phenomenal because I've got a readily skilled workforce. I can tell you the R&D expensing is phenomenal because that's what is going to be the future for our company for the next generation. And lastly, the equipment and the ability to expense the equipment means that those 3 pieces come together with the design, the product, and the equipment. So, sorry, I have to pick all 3.
Okay, I can understand. Mr. Dickerson?
And those are all really important provisions, but I'll mention the doubled standard deduction being made permanent. It means that 90% of tax filers no longer have to itemize, which completely simplifies people's compliance costs with the tax code and means that you don't have to include so many crazy different deductions and things like that for special interests. So it's standard deduction for me.
Okay, real good. Follow-up here. Mr. Dickerson, what was the economic climate before the passage of H.R. 1 that warranted Congress to act on tax relief for working families and small businesses rather than allowing Americans to face higher taxes, slower growth, and continued economic?
It was an incredibly challenging economic environment that you're coming in out of 4 years of the Biden administration, where they massively increased spending, which was the match that lit the fire of inflation. We saw the price level increase more than 21%. We saw the cost of living skyrocket. We saw real wages fall. And we had a massive fiscal cliff going into 2025 where there were many, many things that Congress had to deal with it. And you dealt with that very admirably in the One Big Beautiful Bill.
Okay, super. A follow-up from Mr. Dickerson. What was the economic, well, no, here. I want to ask you about the combined effect of the tax change of H.R. 1 and the administration's regulatory actions. In your view, how important is it for Congress to pair pro-growth tax policy with regulatory relief so businesses actually have the confidence to invest, hire, and expand?
I think it's absolutely essential that Congress work with the administration to provide that certainty in the economy, both in the tax code, but also reduce the uncertainty that exists with Washington bureaucrats telling businesses, like Mr. Schroen's over here, what they can and can't do, or different compliance costs that they would have to deal with for simple paperwork reasons. That increases uncertainty, it reduces investments, and I think it's really important to partner with the administration. And you included important provisions to help deregulation and reduce the cost of compliance with the federal bureaucracy in the working families tax cut.
Okay. I have no problem answering what my favorite one was, so I'll have to ask Mr. Schoen to follow up. I think it's horrible that in this country, the harder you work, the higher the tax rate. You know, I had recently had a Hmong immigrant come up to me. He's got 3 businesses. He works his butt off. He's got I think a restaurant thing. He's got a rental properties going and something else. He says, why in America, the harder you work, the higher the tax rate? And that's a good question, I guess, because the people who put together the Internal Revenue Code over time hate hard work. But I'm going to ask Mr. Schoen to follow up a little bit again on the effect of lowering the marginal rate on your workers. In other words, do they want to work more, maybe because their marginal rate is now going to be something like 30% rather than, say, 50%?
Well, I think what the lower the marginal rate means that that individual sees themselves as more engaged in where he or she is going. I can see it in what they're doing in their way they save money, going in their 401k. They see that they're planning for their future. You can see that they're taking care of their children's education, everything in regards to going forward. That lower rate means that they have more in their pocket to take home, and do those things that they think are important to themselves, their family, and their future.
And conversely, if you have a high rate, together with Social Security taxes up around 50%, and the state taxes together, your average person's going to say, why should I work overtime if the government's going to take half?
Absolutely, and that's why this has been so attractive to people like Richie Gavlin, who says, hey, I'm a fishing guy, and I'm going to go out in my competitive fishing. I want to buy that boat. You've made it attractive to us in this tax bill.
Okay, now I got to ask one more question, and then we'll go to Mr. Perry. This is for Mr. Crane. In my district, Oshkosh Corp. manufactures products that are closely tied to defense manufacturing. From NAM's perspective, is there a national security argument for maintaining a tax code that encourages domestic industrial capacity rather than allowing more production to move overseas?
There absolutely is. We've seen a hollowing out of the defense industrial base. It's become increasingly difficult for small and medium-sized manufacturers to participate in the defense supply chain. It's more costly, difficult regulations. It's just harder to feed up into the Department of War. So if we have a tax code, as H.R. 1 included, that incentivizes domestic innovation, domestic production, domestic capital equipment, then absolutely that's going to have a national security impact in addition to the broader economic impacts that we've been discussing today.
Thank you. Now we'll go to Mr. Perry.
Thanks, Mr. Chairman, and thanks, gentlemen, for being here. Mr. Schroen, I appreciate your story. I used to own a small business, and a lot of people would say to me, well, you have a lot of money, you have a lot of time, you own your own business. And I would say to them, no, my business owns me, and all the money I make goes back into the business. But I particularly like your story, especially about your family business, and your family is your town, the people that live around you, because that's who you hire, and that's who you celebrate your successes with and work through your failures with. Is that's your family, not just your immediate family, but the people that work there, and you care for them and love them and want them to do well, just like they're pulling for you too. But so I voted for the bill. I thought it spent too much money, and I told the president that, but I knew it did a lot of good things that we fought, and Mr. Higgins is right. We negotiated till the very last minute. I think it was 3 or 4 in the morning. We were still negotiating on the bill, as I recall, and trying to get good stuff. But, you know, my adversaries run ads, every day since the last November election, not last November, but the one before, saying that because I voted for the bill, that I have raised everybody's taxes, and that I raised all regular people's taxes to pay for billionaires, my billionaire friends, right, to put money in. I don't have any billionaire friends. I don't know any billionaires that I know of. But most of the people that I represent, my bosses, make well below $100,000. The average income where I live is far below that, and they're good, hardworking people. And I think that not making them pay so much on tips. I mean, you follow a waiter or a waitress around on their shift, and you're going to be exhausted at the end of it, right? Overtime, I was a guy that worked overtime and paid overtime. It's just like you and the chairman said, you know, you punish people for working harder and working longer, and then they're disincentivized to do that. And then for seniors who, you know, they try to do the right thing, they've been forced to save in Social Security under penalty of law, and then we tax them. Can you just make it plain for me and the people that won't believe me that this was actually good for people that work for a living, that work with their hands, that get up in the morning and carry a lunchbox out, that punch a clock, that this helped mostly those people and not the wealthy people?
Well, I can give you a real a specific example. Before you've passed the tax bill, we were struggling to get people to want to work overtime. I checked with our HR department, and I couldn't actually believe before coming here, 83% of our people are volunteering now to work overtime. That's not money in my pocket. That's not money in anybody else's pocket. It's going right in our individual teammates' pocket to take home for his family or her family to support them in whatever means they want to. So that is, I think that's pretty darn exciting. When I saw that, I just said, can you please double check that number? Because it blew me away that people are embracing this tax bill that vigorously and this exciting. And they also know, because they can see what we're doing. We're buying the machinery and equipment
Right.
to go ahead and take that next generation. And I know that we heard something about the Defense Department. Well, we're making Defense Department parts. And right now, I think that's going to be critical to our country, that we be prepared. And they can see that we, as a team, employee, individual, company, our family, I mean, we're one of the first companies, I believe, to hire special needs individuals to put them into our production facilities so they can share and learn a skill. We also were the first company to hire second chance individuals and say, hey, we want this. This is what manufacturing looks like. It's a big, big tent, and I think it's pretty fun to see the family growing. And not our family, our
Community
German
family, right? Yeah, and I think that's an awesome story, and I think that it worked just as we wanted it to. And it's not perfect. We still spent too much money, but we wanted to help the people that needed the help and work hard and deserve to make a decent wage. And if they want to work a little more, keep more of what they get. And I think that's a great story. If the chairman will indulge me, I want to move on to just one other thing, because, look, I'm responsible, according to the ads, to everything bad that ever happened in the world. And I come from Pennsylvania. In the last 11 years, we have shut off about 4.8 gigawatts of base load power. That's 24/7, affordable, reliable power. And of course, our prices have been going up for 10 or 11 years, but according to my opponents, the prices just started going up when we passed this bill. And I know I work with Mr. Dickerson. We were working hand in hand trying to quit subsidizing and quit making our bosses, our constituents, pay for the most unaffordable, most unreliable energy production on the planet. Matt, Mr. Dickerson, can you kind of talk through what we did, how it affects the average person that has seen their bill go up for 10 or 11 years straight, and what the future looks like for them because of maybe what it was going to look like if we didn't do what we did?
Yeah, that's right. And you guys, you did the right thing. You pushed as much as you could, and you did the best thing you could do for your constituents. For many years, the federal government has put its thumb on the scale with subsidies for unreliable types of energy. And President Biden's Inflation Reduction Act doubled down on that and included more than $1 trillion of subsidies and mandates for so-called green energy, which oftentimes is not reliable. It doesn't provide that baseload power, which means that companies that provide electricity services have to come back and on the back end and provide reliable energy. But all of this just raises costs. It shifts costs to the taxpayers. And so what you did in the Working Families Tax Cuts is you rolled back as much as you could from those subsidies for electric vehicles, for wind, solar, and other green energy sources, so that you could unleash reliable American and affordable American energy.
Thank you. I yield, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate the time.
Thank you much. Mr. Burleson, see if you can top that.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Schroen, thank you for telling your story. Thank you for making your way here to the swamp. But we're glad that you're here. I wanted to hear a little bit more of the specifics about your company and the expansion that you're now able to do. So you were planning to do one expansion, but because of the passage of this, you were able to realize a expansion number 2 on top of the first expansion. Could you elaborate on what those lines are, or what you're expanding into, and what the impact is on employees and jobs?
Sure. Thank you, Congressman Burleson. Our laid out the plan, build an addition on one end of on the east end of our building. Tax law passes, and phase 2 was already on the books, already written up. We said, let's push the button, folks, because this has got a short window. Let's expand it and make sure we take full advantage of what it means for the expansion of the building. And so that's what we did. We just said, let's go forward. One end of the building is going to depreciate at one scale, and the other end is going to be depreciated in 1 year. And so we're going to roll that money into buying new machinery to go into that place. We can see we're running, this is no exaggeration, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week in Chicago right now. Aramis 2 flew with a number of our items on it, and every missile system is using our products to actually strengthen the threads in that. So that's where those products are being made in Chicago. The other way we're using it is in the R&D expensing. We make the most sophisticated electric screwdriver in the world, and it's being made right in Cleveland. We have used those R&D tax credits to design the software, the coding, the circuit boards, everything to go in to make this extremely sophisticated screwdriver. And we know that as we go forward, it's going to be used to build and put together the circuit boards for a lot of our defense applications. So that we're using it in both Cleveland and Chicago, and we have blocked out 3 acres, actually 4 acres next door to us, because we want to watch that go, and we want to actually take advantage of that for the next expansion.
Yeah, I hope everybody heard that. That was fantastic. It couldn't be a more perfect story at a time in which we've acknowledged that we are lacking in our ability to keep up the pace of what our military needs. We are falling behind when it comes to the technology, especially the space race. And it is a race to get to the moon. It's a race to get to Mars with us and China. And so in the face of that, this one bill that we passed, by giving you the opportunity to deduct your expenses immediately, it allows your business, which is a critical component, provides critical components for Artemis and the missile defense system, to be able to expand. That's an amazing, that's a perfect, I couldn't think of a better story to tell. And so I really appreciate that. And tell us about the employees that are added to your business. Because
well, what's been the challenge for employees is that skilled labor shortage is real. It's not artificial. I know it's discussed in the media, but you cannot find skilled CNC, computer-operated machinists, so what means you're going to have to train them. And sometimes you're going to bring them in at lower wages, but you're going to train them, get them up to speed, and you're going to accelerate that learning curve so it becomes a win-win, taking somebody that did not have a good job, and we move them into a career job that gives them a life planning skill. I mean, we have many, many people have been with us 20, 30. The only reserved parking spots in our building are those who have been with us 25 years, and we don't have enough parking spots to cover all those folks who have been with us 25 years. So I really think that there's a wake-up call about manufacturing in the United States. We're waking up and saying, we've got to get back to bringing those things back to the United States. We got to get those jobs that we lost to China. We got to get those jobs we lost to Eastern Bloc and bring them back, not only for our needs, but for our defense.
Yeah, I remember being at a summit, an art conference, where we learned that going into World War I and World War II, the United States didn't have the biggest military presence. We didn't have the biggest Navy. We didn't have the biggest Air Force in the world. But we had the best manufacturing industry in the world. And that's why we won World War II. We didn't win it because we started with the biggest Navy. We won it because we were able to manufacture the biggest Navy quickly and rapidly. And our manufacturing, base was able to turn on a dime and start producing what this country needed to win the war. And sadly, at that point in time, the United States, I think the estimates are that we were manufacturing 40% of the world's GDP in manufactured goods at that time. Today, it's in the teens. And so you're right, we have got to, I think that the United States is recognizing, and I'm glad that we were able to recognize and do something in this bill to help turn that tide back to us being the manufacturing powerhouse that we need to be in this country, because when we're the manufacturing powerhouse, the world is safer. I want to touch on, Mr. Watson, you might be able to touch on this. The claim that's often made is that this was what Mr. Perry was pointing out, this is a tax cut to rich, but ironically, most of the tax relief is for working families. The study that came out from the Department of Treasury after the tax filing season showed that filers earning, for example, between $50,000 and $100,000 were able to receive, on average, a cut that was over $815. And 96% of the filers that received a tax cut were earning less than $200,000. 70% of filers were earning less than $100,000. So to me, I look at these numbers, and it's obvious that this was targeted and successfully benefited not the wealthy, but the working class.
That's right. I mean, generally the idea that either the 2017 tax cuts or the subsequent tax cuts only went to benefit the wealthy is a giant myth. What we saw in both of those pieces of legislation is there are broad-based tax cuts that did benefit folks up and down the income ladder. Of course, we have a very progressive tax system, so to the extent that you do cut taxes, it's going to benefit folks who are paying in the taxes. But when you look specifically at folks who are in the middle, who are working class, especially when you're looking at the new deductions and items from H.R. 1, because of both the income caps that are put in place and because a lot of the folks who are benefiting from overtime, if you're not exempt, from tips, if you're a tipped worker, those are not your typical workers who are millionaires and billionaires. Those are working class folks. And so those combinations of things make it such that the new benefits are concentrated to middle earners.
Yeah, there's some work that was done by David Timmons in his article, Thanks to Congress and President Trump for Extending the Tax Relief in the Working Families Tax Cuts, dated February 27th. He states that the top 1% will pay more than 40% of all federal taxes under this new bill, which is actually a higher percentage than it was prior to the bill. That is proof positive that this was targeted and successful in making the cuts towards working families. Would you agree, Mr. Dickerson, and do you have any comments to that?
Absolutely. Like you said, we already had a progressive tax system, a very progressive tax system. The 2017 tax cuts made the tax code more progressive. That was focused on working families. The working families tax cuts, again, made the tax code even more progressive, shifted more of the burden to higher income individuals. For example, the top 0.1% average tax rate is 33.4%. Meanwhile, those at the middle of the income distribution, they have an average tax rate of just 10.4%. So you can see as you go up the income scale, your tax rate gets higher, your share of the tax burden gets higher, and like you said, this tax relief was focused on working families very intentionally, and it was well targeted that way.
Mr. Dickerson, also, as I talked about earlier in my statement about the impact that families are feeling because of the high costs of things and inflation, from your analysis, how has this bill had an impact on that?
Yeah, this bill is really going to help the economy grow. It's going to help families have more opportunities to work. It's going to have support the ability of businesses to invest, create jobs, and so it's going to be very beneficial.
And then lastly, if I can ask a question of all the panelists, as we approach Reconciliation 3.0, which I pray that we're able to actually accomplish that. But if we were able to do that, if you could wave a magic wand and there was one provision in Reconciliation 3.0 that would benefit this country even greater, what would that provision be?
Yeah, I think for us, even an incremental expansion or even just an elongation of the length of time for the qualifying for expensing for structures for manufacturing would be a big one for us. Right now, that deduction, of course, it's focused on structures that are built for tangible investment. It's a good place to start, but there are lots of opportunities even to expand that a little bit more. If you don't want to do it all in one go, that's one opportunity to build on what we already have.
Yeah, if I'm waving a magic wand, it's permanence for the manufacturing production facilities expensing.
And I've got the same wand because permanency allows those of us who are running businesses to have the ability to look to the future. 4 years sounds like a long time, but we've already used a first year and a half as we go forward. So let's make permanent those changes that are going to sunset and make them not sunset out there in the future.
I think one of the most important things you could do is promote healthcare freedom and choice, get Washington bureaucrats out of people's decisions on their healthcare. That way you can lower costs, give people more choice, more opportunity. And I think the work that you've been doing on that is really great, and strongly support your efforts there.
That was the right answer. Thank you. I yield back.
Okay. By the way, hearing Mr. Schron talk here, man, it makes me want to go to my local tech school and learn how to become a welder. Man, you're good pitch for manufacturing. But now we'll go for Mr. Watson again. The Working Families Tax critics claim it will increase the deficit and the revenue losses will outpace growth. How does the dynamic scoring picture, what do you see happening? I mean, to me, it's amazing how well the economy is doing with the war. Can't imagine what it'll be like when the war is over. But what do you see as the revenue outlook with the tax cut?
Right, so the conventional scoring we found is very close to what was found by JCT and CBO, where overall federal revenue over 10 years is going to be reduced by around $3.5 trillion. Of course, depends if you're counting all the savings. Of course, you're talking about the gross tax cuts. But that conventional score, of course, does leave out the dynamic benefits of the economic growth we're going to see from a lot of the permanents, from expensing, from the lower marginal rates, everything we've been talking about today. And so in our modeling, we try to quantify that, and we find that it's somewhere on the order of at least 15% of the revenue loss is going to be recouped from higher individual income and payroll taxes from that higher growth in the long run. And so that does reduce the total net revenue loss over 10 years. And so that is a benefit, right, from relative to that conventional score. It's still, of course, a deficit increase over the long run. Though, of course, there's lots of other opportunities to broaden the base and keep that growth while also bringing in additional revenue if that's something that Congress wants to do.
Okay. Over 53 million Americans have already claimed coverage under at least one new provision. No tax on tips, no tax on overtime, the Social Security thing. What does this level of uptake illustrate about how effectively the law is reaching its intended beneficiaries?
Right, so this first year with the new deductions, it was a little bit of a test, right? Because the law was passed of course, on July 4th, signed by the president, and that meant that Treasury and the IRS had to move quickly to issue some preliminary guidance to employers, to taxpayers who were taking those deductions at the beginning in the spring as we started the tax season. And overall, I think given that time limit, we had success in terms of getting that guidance out, streamlining a lot of the reporting requirements so that the take-up was there. Folks knew what was qualifying, what wasn't. And it generally, with only a couple of exceptions, matched or even exceeded independent analyst expectations of where that take-up would be. In particular, I think if you look at the overtime deduction, that one was very popular, more so than was even expected. Of course, there's more, as I mentioned in my opening remarks, that's going to be done. There's now initial regulatory guidance that's being finalized by Treasury on things like the auto loan interest deduction, various items there we'll have to see. And there's more reporting coming out for next year that'll be required for employers. So the next couple of years will be important to learn on how the administration side is going. And it'll be good learning for Congress as we think about extending or making these permanent or changing them moving forward if that's the decision.
Mr. Burleson's got a question.
Mr. Crane, Mr. Schron, I'm wondering, as we approach, as kind of going back to the conversation we were having about manufacturing, compete in how we compete with China. What points of friction do we face today? Is it energy costs, the availability of electricity and energy? Is it the availability of affordable, is the availability of land, the workers? What is it? What are the friction points that you think are vulnerabilities when it comes to the United States competing against China?
There's a few things I would point you to, and Mr. Strong can obviously speak to his specific experience. The permitting system in the United States creates billions of dollars of unnecessary roadblocks to getting shovels in the ground. On an annual basis, manufacturers experience about $8 billion in permitting cost every year. There is plenty to be done to reform, both on the regulatory side and on the legislative side, our broken permitting system to allow folks to get shovels in the ground faster. On the regulatory side, coming into this administration, manufacturers shouldered $350 billion every single year directly as a result of federal regulatory compliance cost. Anything we can do to right-size that regulatory burden while still providing reliable rules of the road for the industry are going to help us drive investment here and compete. The last thing I would mention is that Congress has a tremendous opportunity this year to invest in robust infrastructure here in the United States. Our industry needs reliable, robust roads, bridges, ports, waterways, aviation to make and move products across the country, to get inputs to the factories like Mr. Schroen's where we're making stuff and then get finalized products out to other business or American consumers. There's a real opportunity this year to ensure we have that robust infrastructure so we can move things in this country and further increase our manufacturing competitiveness.
Your specific example, our request was against China, and so I believe our number one problem is computers and computer chips out there, because they get impregnated into almost every single device, the one in your pocket that you're talking on, and all the way through to the CNC computerized machines. But that circuit board is going to be critical in that computer chip, and we need to make sure that we get a robust, we develop these things in the United States. We let them go offshore. And now it's time for us to reclaim that rightful place. I believe in that. And that means investing in the plant that's being developed in Ohio, the plants that are being developed on the West Coast, because the computer chip is so critical to everything from defense systems to consumer products out there. If you're going to talk in terms of expanding beyond just China, the high-tech machine tools are not manufactured in the United States. There's going to be the big exhibition in Chicago in a couple of weeks. The big exhibition, the high-tech machine tools that are going to make all those things we need are coming from Germany, Japan, or South Korea. And we should actually focus on that and re-energize everything we can to be self-sustaining on our manufacturing.
Thank you.
Mr. Schroen, you just mentioned things that we need for manufacturing that are absolutely necessary that are built in other countries. Would you be in favor of special tax treatment if those things were built in this country?
I think it was alluded to about the Second World War. The reason our defense industry was so strong at that point is because we controlled our own destiny. Warner Swayze, LeBlanc, names like that, where we were making those machine tools. We need to give incentivization to get that back in the United States. We do have some of the equipment that's being bought from other countries, but we should develop that ourselves. We should own our own destiny. A special tax credit, I think, would incentivize that industry to bring it back.
That's the thing we need more than anything, right? We don't need more plastic ducks.
I think that we're getting quality tools from China, from Japan and Germany, but I would like to control that ourselves in the United States.
Okay, thank you very much. We'll have one more question here we'll go for Mr. Crane. For a manufacturer planning a multi-year capital investment in a new production line, does a 2029 sunset create meaningful uncertainty that could cause investment decisions to be compressed into a shorter window or deferred altogether? I guess, is it important if we do another reconciliation bill that we take a swing at this again?
Yes, Congressman, that's exactly the right way to think about it. We've seen the benefits of permanency from provisions like immediate R&D expensing, immediate capital equipment expensing, interest deductibility, because to your exact point, manufacturers make long-term, decades-long investment decisions. It's going to cost millions, tens of millions, hundreds of millions of dollars to build that facility, operate that facility. So if you know what the rules of the game are going to be, if you know you can write off your R&D costs, your equipment costs, that's going to make it more likely that you can put those shovels in the ground, make those investments. We heard from so many companies between 2017 and 2025 that were holding off on investments because those tax provisions were expiring or had already expired. There was a small business in North Carolina who had an empty spot on her shop floor for a single piece of capital equipment that she was unable to purchase because the bonus depreciation schedule was trickling down every single year. So we've seen the benefits of permanency that are in the tax bill. So on a looking forward basis, the manufacturing facilities deduction, which is not permanent, as you alluded to, it's a 4-year deduction. If we can make that permanent, it's even going to further bolster the long-term planning that manufacturers need to do to drive economic growth here in the United States.
Okay, Mr. Schron has very articulately explained that when you overly tax people's overtime as we were, people will want less overtime, they'll work less if you let them keep less of their money. And if you let them keep more of their money, they're willing to work harder. I'll give who should we take a shot at? Mr. Watson. We have a lot of politicians around here over a period of time have put out a lot of programs that disappear if you work harder. You know, low-income housing, food stamps, earned income tax credit. It's like they were all put together by people who think they want Americans to be lazy. Do you think that we should maybe, if we adjusted some of these programs so people weren't so incentivized not to work, would that be good for the economy? And would it be good for these people, their own self-esteem as well? I realize politicians like these programs because they're buying votes, and make no question about it, they brag about giving taxpayers money to other people. But do you think we'd have improved the work ethic, get more people off the couch if we tightened up these programs a little bit?
Yeah, thanks, Congressman. There definitely is a notable issue where, and it's known amongst us tax and economics wonks as your effective tax rate cliff. Effectively, when you see, and you can apply it to taxes and to welfare programs, where as they expire, you're effectively, in many cases, losing more benefits, losing more total income as you go up the income spectrum than you're gaining from working. And those cliffs can be, for the folks affected, can influence behavior quite a bit. And we have a lot of that, especially because a lot of the both welfare programs, but also in the tax code, we have phase outs that all come around the same band of income, right? They all start, often it's a bit below $100,000, and then as you get above that, you have several additional cliffs. And that all adds up and can dissuade folks from engaging in more work. And so that is something that we should be streamlining. And it can be a bipartisan concern. There actually are some folks across the political spectrum who have noticed this in the academic world, and to smooth these out and to ensure that folks are incentivized to work more, which would be better for them and for the federal government.
Very nice to say the Democrats would care about the disincentives to work. I'm going to ask you, Mr. Dickerson, I think some people would say that this did not affect behavior, and people would be completely unaware that if they work harder, they'll lose their earned income tax credit or earn their low-income housing, that it doesn't affect their behavior. What would you say to people who hold such a viewpoint?
Yeah, well, I think that you're exactly right about the incentives. The federal government, through its $1.2 trillion annual welfare bureaucracy, it disincentivizes employment.
It encourages politicians.
It encourages politicians, it empowers the bureaucracy, and it incentivizes dependency among the American people. And one of the great things that you did in the One Big Beautiful Bill was you reversed many of those disincentives by actually requiring states to enforce work requirements for the food stamp program for able-bodied adults, and you implemented for the first time in the Medicaid program, which is the largest welfare program, it massively disincentivizes work and employment. And so for able-bodied adults, They can get a job, they can participate in job training, or they can volunteer in their community on a part-time basis in order to qualify for very generous benefits from the American taxpayers.
Thank you. Did you have another? Everybody's done. Well, thank you much. You've done a fantastic job. I'm sure the congressman over here learned a lot, and we're all ready to work on the new reconciliation package and take these suggestions to heart. Okay? Would you like to say anything else as a wrap-up?
I want to say congratulations to Mr. Dickerson on your new adventure with your new organization. I'm sure you'll do well. And Mr. Schroen, thank you very much. It's been an honor. I wanted to say one of the takeaways that I'm going to pull away from this meeting is what you said about the machines and the tooling, because you're right. Like I can't tell you how many times I've toured a manufacturing facility, and when they're pointing out the machine that makes the widgets or whatever it is, it's almost never from the United States. It's always from South Korea, Japan, Germany, places like that. So that's a real problem, something that we need to address, and I thank you for highlighting that. And thank you everyone else for joining today.